Good afternoon. My name is Reva Chambliss. I'm the chair of the Metropolitan Council Transportation Committee, and today is August 24th, and we will begin our regular meeting. Our first item of business is approval of the agenda. If there are no changes to the agenda, then we will consider the agenda approved. The next item on our business is approval of the August 10th, 2026 Transportation Committee minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
The minutes a motion has been made. Is it been seconded?
Second.
There has been a second. All in favor of the August 10th committee minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The minutes carry. Thank you. Our next item of business is employee recognition for Metro Transit, and we will have the presentation by our Metro Transit General Manager, Leslie Conderas.
All right, thank you, Chair Chambliss, council members. Today, in many ways, the employee recognition is also my report for later in the meeting, because we wanted to talk about the conclusion of this year's phase of Renew the Blue. Last week, we wrapped up the second phase of this multi-year Renew the Blue program. Last Thursday, we restored light rail service along the full length of the Blue Line after 52 days of maintenance. At a future meeting, we will bring a comprehensive update on what we completed, what's next, and what the 2027 phase will mean for our employees and riders. But today, we wanted to just spend a few minutes recognizing a group of individuals who ensured that our replacement bus service was as seamless for our riders and operators as possible. And so while we're highlighting a small number of people here today who really made this happen, I also just want to share that this was really an all hands-on-deck effort across Metro Transit, including operators, transit supervisors, technicians, and ambassadors. Ambassadors in particular spent more than 5,500 hours assisting riders in the field through ambassador shifts. So with the chair's permission, I'd like to have the 5 people we're recognizing today come up front, and I'll briefly read a few words about each one of their contributions. All right, and I think we're missing Tariq today, but starting with Jack Bucky. Jack is a transit control supervisor. He helped manage our replacement bus service, worked through technical challenges, and helped ensure ambassadors had what they needed in the field. Nick Gurrell helped ensure around 1,000 ambassador shifts were filled. Nick always plays a big role in our special event operations, and is notable that during this construction project, we successfully served several concerts, Twins games, and more. Tariq Mawahid was not able to join us today, but we also want to thank him for his efforts improving customer information and wayfinding signage based on lessons learned and customer feedback. He also continued to use rider feedback to quickly make changes and updates based on what we were hearing. Tanya Noreen, the marketing lead, helped ensure riders and partners received information ahead of time and stayed informed throughout the life of the project. Notably, survey data show that 9 out of 10 riders were aware of the project work before it happened. And last but not least, Bob Westgate is our senior manager from operations planning, who brought people together throughout the project to identify and remedy issues with our replacement bus service. So thank you, Jack, Nick, Tanya, and Bob, for all your efforts. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll hand it back to you to distribute the certificates.
Okay, well, thank you and congratulations. Thank you, Jack. Nice to
Appreciate it.
Congratulations. Thank you. And Nick, congratulations, and thank you. Tanya, congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Congratulations. Well done. That Renew the Project was a lot of coordination, and we really appreciate the champions that helped to make it happen and be successful. Next, we have our reports. And our first report is the Transportation Planning Director, Amy Venowitz.
Madam Chair, and members, I do not have a formal report today. I did want to note that we do have our TAB liaison, Peter Dugan, back with us today after a few months of a personal related absence, and he will be giving the formal TAB report today. So welcome back,
Thank you.
Peter.
Welcome.
We're
Thank
glad
you for-
to have you.
Thank you for
missed you.
passing the buck. I appreciate that.
And then I was just going to note that oftentimes transportation planning, we don't have a lot of agenda items typically, but you will notice that two of our biggest items of the year happen to fall both on this agenda item today, and so you'll be hearing about the UPWP and the TIP as part of the business items too.
Thank you for that report. Our next report is from Metro Transit General Manager Leslie Canderas.
Thank you, Chair Chambliss, council members. As noted during employee recognition, we concluded this year's phase Renew the Blue last week, so pleased to have that behind us and already are busy learning the lessons as we prepare for next year's phase. So more to come on that. And I'll also note Thursday is the start of the state fair. Somehow that's already here. Last meeting, we provided the committee with an overview of our state fair service, but certainly if you're receiving questions or feedback, don't hesitate to reach out to us as that gets underway on Thursday. But with that, Madam Chair, I'd stand for any questions, but that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions from committee members? None. Our next report is from TAB, and we will have Mr. Peter Dugan.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Dugan-
Madam Chair.
Dugan, I'm sorry.
That's fine, Madam Chair. It's quite fine. Thank you, Madam Chair, and Mr. Vice Chair, honorable committee members, Assistant Director Venowitz, General Manager Canderas, and of course Becky, who saves me every week, every time I come here. Thank you, Becky. The first thing I wanted to mention that was brought up at TAB were congratulate General Manager Canderas on the awards that Metro Transit received from the Minnesota Office of Enterprise Sustainability, the Fleet Award for the electric bus transition and testing hub. 36 metric tons of greenhouse gases reduced, and the North, am I understanding correctly, the North Loop Garage was designed for the electric buses? Okay, small project, yeah. And then the All-Star Award for the sustainable infrastructure, common language for over 80 vehicles. That's great. And then I wanted to add to the summary report that accompanies your agenda from Elaine. Regarding the MAC, although Allegiant and Sun have merged, and Allegiant is short about 30 pilots, but our representative, or the TAB representative to the MAC, says that Allegiant loves MSP and is committed to staying. And in the report, it mentions that Aer Lingus is dropping service to Dublin. That is in direct response to competition from Delta, which flies every day, and Aer Lingus does not. The total traffic is down 2.5. That's passenger traffic on and off plane. Is down primarily because of international travelers not choosing Minneapolis to come to. And then the reference to tactile maps refers in restrooms. There are 144 restrooms at the airport. Tactile maps mean they are Braille maps inside the restroom directing folks to a urinal, a stall, a sink. Apparently, of course, there are, Madam Chair, look who's here. There is a Braille on the outside, but not once you get in. It has been changed. Okay, and a couple of definitions will be coming. You'll start to hear are complete streets. That is defined by Minnesota statute, and it is safety and accessibility of all streets for all users. And then it divides it into context, urban, rural, suburban, and it is meant to have streets developed from planning all the way through construction and ongoing maintenance. Another term will be buffer, and that is particularly used by MnDOT in work zones. And that refers to everything from the beginning of a work zone where you might see the vehicles stored to where we're all merging with traffic cones. Then there's the, which I found interesting, the 2-inch safety buffer under all bridges for trucks and other vehicles, so they don't hit the bridge. And then what is something called the shy distance buffer. The shy distance is in a construction zone, the distance from the outer or the, let's say, the edge of the macadam, the pavement, to the traffic signal, let's say the sign or whatever, and that should be 1 to 2 feet. And lastly, active transportation, that you all passed it, so of course you're familiar with it, but just how it's coming up in tab is it's the 3/4 cent sales and use tax for the 7-county area. Of the Metropolitan Council's 83%, 5 goes to tab, the rest goes to, of the Met Council's portion goes to Metro Transit, and then 17% goes to the counties. And the reason I bring that up is because it's starting to show up, as I've seen, on more receipts when taxes are specified, and people, may ask questions. Regarding safety, which I had asked Becky to distribute this chart, it is significant that motorcycle accidents motorcycle fatalities have increased substantially this year. They are mentioned in your MnDOT report, so I won't go over them, but the reason I brought up this graph is to show over the age groups where the accidents are occurring. However, from the Office of Traffic Safety, it appears that the surge is coming in the demographic cohort of 20 to 29, although there's not a specific cause yet. It is thought the primary behavior in that age group of speed, impairment, inexperience is contributing to that. Also, again, interestingly enough, because the weather was nice in the beginning of spring and summer, more motorcycles were out. And over 50% of the fatal incidents with motorcycles are single vehicles where the riders fail to safely navigate a turn, corner, or lane transition. Okay, and that it has not been related thus far to the Minnesota provisions under statute of lane splitting and lane filtering. And I've got more to research on that, but lane splitting is when a car is vehicles are in traffic and a motorcycle is permitted to pass in the same lane. So if you're in a center lane, the motorcycle can pass between you and the dotted line. That's the lane splitting. It's also, but it can go no more than 25 miles an hour, or more than the traffic is going, typically in terms of congestion. The lane filtering is when vehicles are stopped, and it allows the motorcycle to come to the front of the line. And it appears to be, and I have to do more research on this, but there appear to be limitations on whether it can be to the left or right of the vehicle. But it is not allowed in work zones, lane filtering is not allowed in work zones, school zones, or where the safety just does not allow it. And regarding motorcycle crashes, of the 218 severe motorcycle crashes, this severe or fatal this year, 57% are in urban areas. Again, Office of Traffic Safety and others, such as your committee, want to know why and how things work out. The rationale, according to the report, for lane splitting and filtering is preventing rear-end collisions, heat stress to the vehicle, increasing visibility by allowing the motorcycle to come to the head of the line and be seen, traffic efficiency, and it is an optional practice. if I may, e-bikes, and we'll get into e-bikes and e-motos as we go down further through the year. An e-bike in Minnesota, an electric, is codified in statute by the legislature as an electric-assisted vehicle. And it generally has 2 or 3 wheels. It has a saddle and fully operable pedals. That's the big thing that separates it from an e-moto. It must meet federal safety regulations under the CFR, but importantly, it can be no more power output of 1,000 watts. It is incapable of going above 20 miles an hour, whether by, it's called human propulsion, or the electric battery itself, meaning if you're operating it as an electric bike without pedal assist, can't go above 20. If you start to pedal, it can't go above 20. And also, as soon as the vehicle's brakes are hit, the motor disengages, much like a bike, as opposed to an e-bike. And it is against the law for anyone under 15 to have an e-bike in Minnesota. I don't know whether that's being observed, at least not what I've seen. Okay. And I would just say I'll just give you the summary. The legislature, when it passed the electric e-bike legislation, required the Minnesota Department of Transportation to issue a report after the first year on what their findings. And they issued this report February of 2026. So this is from MnDOT. And they, of course, they go through the different definitions and why, but they come up with, I will bring more of this up, but the summary is, let's get an understanding. Number one is let's get an understanding of what e-bikes are and what they're allowed to do. Because they are a bicycle, they are allowed to go where a bicycle is. Let's say a sidewalk, a bike lane, things that are only reserved for human propulsion. I love that. That's really interesting. And then let's educate folks between e-bikes and e-motos and which is unlawful operation. Reduce barriers to safety equipment, get e-bikes into state traffic programs, and the main recommendation is they want to know, as I'm sure you would, data on usage trends, crashes, and risk factors. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me. Madam Chair, how are you? Wow, big deal. I got to call you.
Well, thank you for that very detailed report. We're learning a lot about the different types of bike vehicles and how they're motored. Are there any questions of our committee members? He gave so much information already.
It does not, I'm sorry, it does not include any of the motorized or electric scooters or any of skateboards. It's just bikes.
Okay.
And has to have 2 wheels, tandem, or 3. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Dr. Carter.
Thing, I wouldn't mind getting, down the road more information on the e-bike versus the e-moto.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you.
Next meeting, if I may. Madam Chair said, don't take more than an hour, so I had to stop. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Not a question, Madam Chair, just a comment, and I know it's not up onto you. I did watch the TAB meeting. I was kind of disappointed about Aer Lingus. I'm a plane guy, and I know Turkish Airlines, I think I said, was coming. Now we're losing. We lost Lufthansa. I guess my question is, what's up? What's going on? I know we have a beautiful city. We have a beautiful airport. So something from Mac to, what's going on.
Yeah.
But that stings a little, so.
Yeah. It appears to be Delta's, really pushing
Just
hard.
dominating, yes, I agree. That's all.
Our airport is magnificent. Oh,
To that point, if I may, way back in the day, I worked at Greater MSP when they were actually trying to get nonstop flights from MSP to Dublin.
Yeah.
And they worked with Aer Lingus, but Delta, shows up and they're the home airport. So I'm sure Greater MSP is involved in all of this as with their sustainable aviation, fuel and all of that. But it was interesting back in the day to be
Yeah.
able to get that nonstop. And today there's so much competition that Aer Lingus is out.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you.
Of course, sir.
Without any further questions, thank you so much for that tab report. We look forward to the next tab report.
Yes,
now that
ma'am.
You're back.
Yes, ma'am.
Our next item of business is consent business. And we have 2026-165, which is to authorize the grant agreement with the Regents of the University of Minnesota. And is there a motion to approve that item?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Tony Carner. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Obasaki. Any questions or discussion? With none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We have several items on our non-consent business, and our first item is the 2026-124 joint third quarter budget amendment. And we have coming up Heather Giesel. And Mr. Prescott? No? Kristin Prescott.
Randall, he'll be presenting the capital.
Mr. Randall, welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. We're here to present the Quarter 3 Capital Budget Amendment. I'm Nathan Randall, the Budget and Grants Manager at Metro Transit, and I will speak on the topics for Metro Transit.
And I'm Heather Giesel. I'm the Director of Finance and Administration for Community Development and Metropolitan Transportation Services.
All right, so let's start off with the Metro Transit items. Let's start off with our closing projects. We are requesting the authorization for transfer of $1 million in state funding from the OHB Break Room Project to support the facility's engineering capital improvements. This project supports a larger scope of renovations, including the replacement of a large fan in our largest air handling unit. 3 MTPD projects are now closing, with their remaining funds of approximately $140,000 in state and local funding being moved to our primary security systems project. This largely consists of replacing security cameras on our buses and facilities. For new funding requests, we are requesting authorization of $25 million in funding from Ramsey County and sales taxes for the Bronze Line. This will be used for the engineering phase of the capital grant agreement. We're requesting transfer of $9 million of authorized funds from our Business Process System Integration Project to our official ERP BTT project. This will help cover the Metro Transit portion of the capital purchase of the new ERP to replace our end-of-life system. We are requesting $2 million in sales tax funding for the Franklin LRT station renovation. This funding will be used to implement the crime prevention through environment design principles at the Franklin LRT station. We are requesting $4 million in federal and sales tax funding for our tire lease project. These funds will be used for this continuous project to replace tires for our revenue fleet. We are requesting $1 million in sales tax funding for the bus fire protection project. This will help us complete a fire hazard analysis and prepare garage facilities for housing electric buses. We are requesting $8 million in sales tax funding for our North Loop garage expansion. This expansion will provide new space for a radio shop and fare repair shop. The funding will be used for staff time, equipment purchases, and building modifications. We are requesting $6 million in sales tax funding for our East Metro sprinkler replacement. This will allow us to upsize the garage to handle a higher hazard level. And finally, we are requesting $8 million in sales tax funding for roof upgrades and replacements. This funding will be used for the design, construction, and staff time to support these replacements at multiple facilities. All of these projects are identified in the capital improvement plan. Does anyone have any questions for Metro Transit before I turn it over?
Are there any questions? No, continue, Heather.
Transitioning to the MTS portion of the amendment, first in the administrative adjustments section, we are repurposing existing funding that's already in the authorized capital program to complete 12 projects. There are also 5 Southwest Transit projects that are being closed and balances are being transferred to their undesignated account, and 4 MBTA projects that are being closed and balances transferred to their undesignated account. We will then make a lump sum payment to each of these organizations for the balances of their undesignated accounts. This is just one more step in our transition away from managing their funds. So we are closing out those projects and they will complete the duration of those projects using the funds on their side of the house. In the new project section, we are swapping RTC for sales tax in the Plymouth and Maple Grove undesignated accounts. You'll remember that we've been in the process of moving away from using RTC for STP projects, so this is just replacing the funding source for the funds in their undesignated accounts so that they can utilize them instead of using RTC. We are moving funds from Big Bus to the technology account for future programming and also an accounting cleanup exercise for the MBTA Apple Valley Transit Station to align with their federal grant for that project. In the closing project section, staff have identified 20 projects totaling $16.7 million that are in our ACP. Those projects have been fully expensed and can be closed. On the operating side of the amendment, we are authorizing $1.9 million in MVEST revenues to be transferred to the contracted services operating budget, from the contracted services operating budget to the capital program to be used for engines, transmissions, midlife rehab projects. On the pass-through budget, we have $13.3 million going to the suburban transit providers. As part of the transit funding allocation policy, which passed last September, that policy allows the council to allocate additional supplemental financial assistance to replacement service municipalities equivalent to the transit debt service levied by the council in those communities. So we are passing that funding assistance to be used for transit purposes. So rather than having those funds held in a regional account, they will get them allocated to them individually for the amount levied in their communities. The amendment demonstrates a commitment toward asset preservation and supports stewardship of the region's resources by assessing future needs, responsible planning, and management of financial resources for Metro Transit and Metropolitan Transportation Services. Our requested action is that the Metropolitan Council authorize the 2026 Unified Budget Amendment as indicated and in accordance with the attached tables. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions of committee members?
Yes,
Councilmember
Madam Chair,
Osaka?
Heather Sardur, what were you, Apple Valley, I heard Apple Valley. What was going on with Apple Valley, please? I lost it.
Madam Chair, council member, we are just making some internal accounting adjustments for their Apple Valley Transit Station project. So just aligning with some changes that we had put into the federal grant, making sure that that matches on our internal accounting.
Thank you, Heather. I heard something different, so I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
I was going to do something stupid, so thank you.
Yeah, no dumb questions at all. Any other questions? If there are no further questions, is there a motion to approve 2026-124 joint? It's been moved by Councilmember Judy Johnson and seconded by Councilmember Osaka. Any further discussion? Without any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next non-consent business item is 2026-127 for the 2027 through 2030 Transportation Improvement TIP Program, and presenting is Joe Barbeau.
Thanks, Chair, members. My name is Joe Barbeau, and I have been doing the TIP for 12 years now, and I think the only person around that knows it nearly as well as I do is probably Peter, but he left, so I better be able to answer your questions. So I think some of you have seen portions of this before, but stop me or slow me down if I say anything that, or I skip anything that you think I glossed over. Sure, my eyes are what they were, so I'm going to actually put that up here. So the TIP, or Transportation Improvement Program, is a 4-year list of transportation projects that are funded with federal funds in whole or in part with federal funds. Other projects that could be in the TIP beside federally funded projects are anything that is considered regionally significant, which by our definition is certain projects that impact air quality. It's pretty rare that we actually have projects that are not federally funded in the TIP, however. And then any MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization in the country has to do this. We are required to update it at least every 4 years. We do it every year, and that follows MnDOT's schedule with their STIP. So we're going to incorporate our TIP into MnDOT's Statewide Transportation Improvement Program, or STIP, and that's the step that is needed in order to get a project federal funding. So the projects that are in there, we talk a lot in our settings about the regional solicitation. And that only accounts for about 17% of federal funding in the TIP, and I think it was 16% of funding overall in the TIP. Most of the projects are programmed directly by MnDOT. They have a lot of funds that they can distribute at their discretion, and they also incorporate state-only projects in there, i.e. projects that really aren't required federally to be in the TIP. And they do that to provide flexibility if they want to change something to federally funded. Also, Metro Transit / the council programs projects in through FTA. And starting next year, we're going to have MVTA and Southwest Transit as direct recipients of federal funds, so they will be more directly participating in programming the TIP. They are currently direct recipients, but this whole process started way back in like December, so that was before they became that. So next year it'll look a little bit different from the process. And then there are a small number of projects in Wright and Sherburne County. I think you've seen before that our MPO area goes up into small parts of those counties after the 2010 census is when that happened. So here's a slide or a map showing major projects in the TIP, and there are, I think we have 21 or 22 projects in the TIP that we consider major, and I've made this map. There isn't really a definition of major projects. We usually look for the high-cost projects that are more than just mill and overlays and maintenance. So things like the I-94 Min Pass project, the Blue and Green Line extensions, and other large projects are shown on this map, and it's required to have major projects and a map of major projects in the TIP. There is no required definition of that. So this is the projects that are in here for 4 years in terms of the funding source and the modes. This looks pretty similar to what you've seen in the past. $6 billion, we're usually in the $5.8 to $6.4 billion range. Just about a third of it federal highway funds, a little bit less than that federal transit funds, and then in-state type of funds. And again, with the modes, highway and transit each make up just a hair under 50% of the, well, not just a hair, 40 to 46% of the pot, with other projects making up the rest, bike ped projects, set-asides, things like that. Next. So I don't think I've shared this, a slide of this before, but every year we do have a 45-day public comment period where we have had anywhere from 5 to about 205 public comments. The 205 was a form letter that went out and was distributed by about 100 of those people. So this year we had 16 comments. That's a little more standard from 15 people. If you actually did look at the comments, it probably looks more like about 25 comments, because one of those was from somebody that had a lot of pieces of his comment, and so we broke that up into 7 or 8 pieces. Nothing too unusual about the comments and the themes of the comments. Some people have specific projects that they comment on that they like or that they don't like. A lot of modal preferences. I'd like to see more bike ped. I'd like to see more transit. We did have one that was pretty aggressively wants to see only highway projects. And then other suggestions, there were some land use suggestions and things like that. So with TIP public comments, it's very difficult. Like, for example, if you make a comment and say, I want there to be a bike lane over here, a bike path over here in my neighborhood, we can't really put that in because the project to get to this point, to get in the TIP, really has to have gone through vetting and securing funding and things like that. So the public comments, in terms of really changing the TIP, it's not that common. One thing, though, is that it becomes one of these sort of semi-random points at which people in the public might find an outlet to make a comment or to come to our public meeting. We do have a public meeting, a virtual public meeting every year, and just sort of make general transportation comments. And so we get that a lot. And so these are used in future efforts, and they are shared with partners that do a lot of transportation planning. So whether or not these directly change the tip, and I don't believe any of these comments did, there is value to them in the big picture. And then here's the schedule. And so the bold is today. Hopefully you're recommending approval to the council, which will hear this September 9th. As I mentioned, MnDOT would then include it into its own STIP. And then federal approval usually comes about November 1st, where the feds approve the STIPs. And by doing so, that renders our TIP approved. And that is all I have. Or maybe it's not. It's not all I have. Kind of forgot about this one. And so the lion's share of this is shows the motion, which I don't hope to read, and I think usually chairs don't read these motions because our motion is inclusive of some of the federal rules that are part of approving the TIP. So, but as the TIP, as the MPO, the council approves the TIP on the recommendation of the TAB, and that's been clear for quite some time. But sometimes we forget and we gloss over that, and maybe TAB says we approve, but what TAB is technically doing is recommending to the council to approve the TIP because the council is the MPO. So barring a request to read the motion, I believe that is all I have. Yes, that is all I have for this presentation, but I'm here for questions if you have any about the TIP.
Well, thank you, Mr. Barbeau. You did a good job of going through all the points in the motion, and I'll ask committee members if they have any questions. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you. Thanks for the thorough report. Appreciate it. What would it take if has something ever come out of a TIP?
Chair and members, yes, I can think of 2 times. Well, no, I can think of 1 time. And it was a very unusual story where there was some public angst about a project, and that led into an examination of the scoring. It was a regionalization project, and it was kind of misscored, and so that did come out. We also had a TIP amendment that was killed by the sponsor once. That was in 2014. So that was during the an amendment process, and the sponsor didn't want anything to happen with the project, so they kind of stopped it there, and that kind of took the project out of the TIP. So since I think that was 2015. So in the last 11 or 12 years, we've had 2 things happen.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Great question. Any other questions? Well, thank you for that presentation. So we will take a request for a motion for business item 126 for the TIP. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Obasakin. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Tony Carter. Any further discussion?
That would be Tyrone.
Tyrone Carter, sorry. Any further discussion? Without any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Our next business item is 2026-127. That is our Unified Planning Work Program, UPWP, and we have coming up Frank Alarcon.
Good afternoon, Chair and council members. My name is Frank Alarcon. I'm a manager of multimodal transportation planning at the Metropolitan Council, and I'll be providing some information about a business item 2026-127, the 2027 Unified Planning Work Program. So a Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP, is a document that every metropolitan planning organization in the country prepares to document its federally supported transportation planning work. Here at the Met Council, we do a UPWP every year. We develop the UPWP and all the projects and initiatives described in the UPWP with our partners, such as MnDOT, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, cities and counties, our advisory committees, So what's in the document attached to the item today is the product of a lot of coordination with partners throughout the region. The work described in the UPWP is also very closely connected to our regional policy, our transportation policy plan. So there's a very close connection between the work we do in our planning program and advancing our regional goals as articulated in the transportation policy plan. And very importantly, the UPWP serves as a funding application to the Federal Department of Transportation so that our region can receive our allotment of federal transportation planning funding from the U.S. Department of Transportation. On a parallel track with the UPWP, we also develop what we call the regional planning or the regional work program. It's a very similar concept to the federal UPWP in that it documents our planning activities. The difference is that the regional work program only describes work that is fully regionally funded without any federal dollars. And the reason for this is we want to be very clear about what aspect of our planning program is federally supported and what isn't. And there are a few reasons for that. One is that there are some regional priorities that are not eligible for federal funding under this current administration. So that would include things like electric vehicle planning. That's a priority for our region, advancing vehicle electrification. It's not a current federal priority. So we still do that work, but we do it with local dollars as part of this regional work program. And there's some other activities in this that stem more from state law than federal policy. So an example would be our active transportation solicitation. That is funded by the regional sales tax for transportation, comes from state law, and so the administration of that program is funded purely with local dollars and not federal funding. So the UPWP is organized by 5 major activities, A through E, listed here on this slide. I won't go into detail about any of them because I know we have a full agenda, but I'll say that the UPWP document includes a budget for each of these activities. There's an example on this slide showing the proposed budget for activity A. The budget for every planning activity includes costs for staff time as well as consultant studies. Much of the work, actually most of the work in the 2027 draft UPWP is work that's being carried forward from this year and even prior years, and that's because the nature of this planning work is that most of our studies and most of our work spans multiple years. So all the slides or all the studies on this slide, except the ones marked complete, are started prior to this year and are continuing into 2027. You'll see a mix. I won't go into detail about any of these individual projects, but you'll see a mix of different transportation modes reflected and just different topics, but all connected to our regional policies. We're also starting a number of studies this year that will continue into 2027 and are part of the 2027 UPWP. So that's what this list of projects are. You see, again, a mix of, there's some highway work, there's safety, complete streets, bicycle planning work getting started this year. And then in the federal, or in the regional program, there's some electric vehicle work starting this year, some travel demand management, and community considerations. And then a handful of studies in the UPWP and the regional program will be starting in 2027. These include a regional transportation resiliency plan, some continued electric vehicle work, and ongoing work to develop a regional sidewalk data set. So all told, the draft UPWP budget is summarized in this table here. It adds up to about $11.9 million of work for the calendar year 2027. We're expecting a federal grant of about $6 million to support this work, and then the remaining 5.9 will be local match. The UPWP and the regional plan have gone through a public comment process earlier this summer. Similar to past years, there were not many comments submitted. One individual provided comments, and those comments are included below the business item before you today. As far as process goes, the draft UPWP and regional plan have been through, working their way through the committee process, starting with TAC planning in June, up until TAB last week, and then Transportation Committee today, of course, and should the item be advanced today, it will head to the Met Council for adoption on September 9th. And after adoption, staff will provide the UPWP to the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and then we'll work with MnDOT on a subrecipient grant agreement so that we, as the MPO, can receive that $6 million federal grant through MnDOT. So, and I'm noticing this presentation is actually the TAB version. So this slide was the recommended motion last week for the TAB, but as you'll see in the business item itself, the proposed action for Transportation Committee today. And with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Okay, okay, I will go ahead and read the proposed motion. It is online correctly, and if you have your tablets up, you can pull that up and see that it has been updated online. But I'll read that later after the questions. Councilmember Barber, did you have something? Okay, any questions? Councilmember Tyrone Carter?
Yeah, my question was, the $6 million that was from the federal funds for the WP, how does that compare with past years?
It's very similar, Chair, committee members, it's a very similar amount. I think it grows a little bit. It is tied to the federal surface transportation legislation, and I believe last year's grant was about 5.9 million, so a very similar number this year.
So our expectations are that in coming years, it's not going to change that much either.
Chair, committee members, maybe I'll pose that one to Amy.
Madam Chair and members, MnDOT is actually, we receive the funds through MnDOT. So MnDOT gets a number from the federal government. They distribute that among the 8 Minnesota MPOs. And so the actual number that's in the document was supplied by MnDOT. And they are committed to that amount for next year.
Very well. Any other questions? Councilmember Tony Carter?
Thank you. Thank you for the report on both the plan for federal and regional priorities. I would assume and just would appreciate being assured that changes in what we are able to submit for federal funding did not necessitate the pushing out of regional priorities. So we were able to adjust and make certain that we maintain the work and take up the new work that we needed without having to drop something because of federal change in priorities. Is that true?
Yes, Chair and committee members, yes, and that's kind of the logic behind having that separate regional work plan so that we can continue to move forward our regional priorities kind of regardless of federal priorities.
Thank you. Thank you for sorting through and making sure we're able to do what we need to. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Good question. Any other questions?
I can certainly make the motion.
Okay, you can go ahead and, do you have it up? Oh, you just want to make the motion. I'll read it. Okay.
Okay.
So the motion is that the Metropolitan Council adopt the attached 2027 UPWP with a budget of approximately $11.9 million, including approximately $6.0 million in federal funds, and authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute an agreement with the Minnesota Department of Transportation for receipt of federally Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration planning funds. Is that correct?
Chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay, and the motion has been made by Councilmember Tony Carter. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Obasakit. Any further discussion? Without any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thank you so much. Our next business item is 2026-128. That is the Extended Urbanized Area Memorandum of Understanding with David Burns coming up. Welcome, David.
Hey, thank you. David Burns, I am a transportation planner with MTS Planning or Transportation Planning. I'll go over this rather briefly. It's fairly benign business. So as you know, the Metropolitan Council does serve as the MPO or Metropolitan Planning Organization for the region. And by federal law, the MPO must include the urbanized areas in its 3C planning process. Going back to like the 2010 census, the Census Bureau identified parts of Wright and Sherburne counties, including the cities specifically of Albertville, Elk River, Hanover, Otsego, and St. Michael as part of this urbanized area. So after this, the council and the counties, applicable cities, and the 7W Policy Board, which is a MnDOT policy board, agreed to a memorandum of understanding which outlined the relationship between the council and this extended urbanized area. Upon release of the 2020 census, which was a little bit delayed, the urbanized area boundary changed very slightly. The effect on this extended urbanized area is actually very minimal, just kind of a smooth area boundary. However, the council and staff from the urbanized or extended urbanized area met in 2024 to discuss the existing MOU and whether any changes were needed or desired. The result is the updated MOU, which does reflect the outcome of the discussion. Some of the changes, overall, very minor revisions. We did clarify some language to reflect that our TPP is on a 5-year update cycle because we are in air quality attainment at present. There is no changes to the sort of the transportation programming aspect of it. District 3, MnDOT District 3 will continue to coordinate with the council on any transportation projects within that extended urbanized area to ensure that they are in the statewide transportation improvement program and RTIP as well. There is no change in the regional solicitation process for that area as per their requests. Projects that will utilize federal funds in the extended urbanized area will still be selected via the existing process, which goes through the 7W-ATP in MnDOT District 3, and the council and the 7W region will continue to coordinate on planning activities to ensure that they're part of our planning studies and involved as part of the region. We also updated the meeting frequency to as needed. It was previously annually. Sometimes there wasn't a great desire to meet annually, so the area staff did request that we change it to as needed, and we also updated the language to include elected officials if necessary as opposed to mandatory. And with that, I am open to any questions.
Committee members, any questions?
Madam Chair.
Councilmember Johnson.
Just one quick question, because I've kind of known about this, but they sit out there and they seem to kind of do their thing, and here we're updating that, not to oversimplify the important work that's going on. So since there's continues to be growth in those communities and others too, but these are the ones we're working to update now, and we're working through a memorandum of understanding, and we're still the 7-county metro area, is that largely then a cost participation and understanding of how projects are being handled, or does it go into something else as growth continues to move into some of these areas on the edge of the 7-county metro area? I'm not sure that was a very succinct question for you.
Great. No, thanks for the question. This is just, honestly, this is just a memorandum of understanding that just outlines the relationship between that extended area and the extended area staff and our staff and the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which the council serves. So there's not any implications particularly on funding or anything of that nature. It's just it's a way that we can incorporate them in our planning process and just sort of outlines the specific relationship, if that answered your question.
It does. And if I can just say, I had one of these communities that kind of my area then kind of dips into, that's part of a bigger meeting that I go to of mayors in this area, asking for, if the Met Council particularly, I could facilitate a grant or facilitate support for a grant that they were receiving, I think from state money or something at the time. And at that point, it got a little weird because I technically didn't represent that area, even though there's this MOU. So we don't need to get into it. But I thought it was interesting as there's at least starts to feel like a bit of a gray area when it comes down to applications for grants or projects like that. So I don't want to go into it anymore. That was enough for me. But I find this very interesting in that that's about it. But it had that moment where I always want to help people, but I knew that I couldn't because I technically did not represent that area, even though they're still part of this region.
I think Amy has a...
Madam Chair and members, if I might maybe address that a bit. Oftentimes, federal competitive grant programs require letters of support from the MPO. And in this instance, if one of those communities was seeking federal funding through that program, they would need to come to us for a letter of support. And that's my guess of maybe what was occurring. And we have submitted those in the past. You typically don't see them. We draft them and forward them to the regional administrator for signature. So we often are sending letters of support for their projects, so that allows them to apply for federal funds.
Okay, I might have gotten wrong advice then back in the day, but thank you, that helps clarify maybe what our role is then in some of their projects too.
Very good. So you're okay with those explanations?
Yeah.
Great question.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, without any further questions, we will make a motion to approve 2026-128 Extended Urbanized MOU.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Barber. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Any further discussion? Without any further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, and that motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is 2026-145, and that's our master contract for mechanical engineering services for design and assessment services. Contract 25P274 with Robert Rimstead presenting. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Again, Robert Rimstead with the Metro Transit Engineering and Construction Group, here to represent this business item for the master contract for mechanical engineering design services. So the proposed action is to authorize the regional administrator to award and execute the contract with TKDA for these services in an amount not to exceed $3 million. So the background on this project is that annually, kind of as the first presentation went, we have the capital improvement plan that outlines a number of projects of improvements that we need to take every year. And so this contract is to hire a firm that is skilled to be able to perform this work for us. And so as we take those projects on and perform that work, we need these firms to be able to support us to do that design and engineering services to put the contracts out for bid. So for this project, we issued a request for proposals in January. We outlined the solicitation process. We went through the procurement to award the contract, and in February, we received 6 proposals to be considered for award, and we followed the Brooks Act for the evaluation of the proposals to select the most technically qualified proposals. And then following that, then we went through and had a negotiating panel, negotiate on the price and agreed on the final pricing and the rates for that contract. And they were determined to be fair and reasonable. And again, the recommended contract for this specific request for proposals was submitted by TKDA. So looking at this through the Thrive analysis, this is kind of the stewardship of our existing buildings to keep them in good state of repair and support. So probably an example project that we're doing right now is looking at our south garage, which is approximately 46 years old. We've gone through a process to hire a design firm to kind of help that. We recently just received bids on that work to go through and replace a lot of the aging HVAC equipment so that we can get those systems replaced and keep them in a state of good repair to support our facilities. Funding for this may come from local or federal funds, and we'll follow the typical approval process of that's executed by the Council Budget Authority. So as the work orders or the tasks with this master contract get awarded, they go through the typical signature authority ahead of approval for that work. And then for this small business inclusion, based on the different types of funds that may be used, no DBE or MCUB programs goals are set for this project, but the firms are committed to utilizing that when they are available or needed on the projects, depending on the scope of them. So with that, I'll take any questions on this business item.
Any questions, committee members? Councilmember Carter.
Just to repeat what you said, maybe in a slightly different way to make sure I understand, although there is no SB or small business inclusion defined for this master contract, in essence, those projects as they are undertaken will define their own project SBE or small business inclusion goals if they are of a size and assessed as so. So I don't need to see it here. I do know that based on the qualifications of projects upcoming, I will see those inside the projects themselves. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, council members, yes, you're exactly right with how you're thinking about that. Whereas a lot of times with these mechanical design services, we may have like a commissioning agent or a different sub-designer that the specific scope that we're hiring them to do, they'll be able to bring on those firms, and they have in the past, and we have a good track record of being able to do that, so they have been included in there, but it's just kind of hard when it's kind of like an it's a bigger concept of this is specifically for mechanical engineering, but the scope could change depending on whether it's within the building or if they go a little bit outside of the building. If we get into a specific geothermal type project that we're going into the ground that we need a specific sub to do, so those will be assigned as the work takes place.
Thank you.
Good question, Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one question. Does this contract has a duration or a timeline?
Madam Chair, council members, the contract is set for not to exceed 5 years or until the value is spent.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing no further questions, is there a motion to approve 2026-145 master contract for mechanical engineering services for design and assessment?
So moved.
It's been moved by Carter and seconded by Councilmember Osman. Any further discussion? Without any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay. None saying nay, so that motion carries. Thank you. Our next, thank you, Mr. Remstad. Our next business item is 20-26-146, and we have Mr. Remstad again for master contracts for architectural engineering services for roof facade design, maintenance, and inspection services.
So again, Robert Remstad with Engineering and Construction. The timing worked out really well to present these two business items together. They're both very similar contracts, but for slightly different scopes. Again, this one, same proposed action to allow the authorize the regional administrator award and execute contracts. There actually will be two contracts here. One with Inspec for not to exceeding $2 million, and then one with TKDA not to exceed $1 million. So similar type of work that we have coming up in the capital improvement plan, but just with our roofs and facades to try to keep them as weather tight as possible and extend the longevity of those assets. So within the capital improvement plan, we have projects lined up to take care of our facilities and keep them in a state of good repair. So this project kind of went on a similar timeline, just slightly behind, but came up and timed out well with this committee meeting. So we issued the request for proposals in February. There was a number of plan holders that were received. A different technical team did review and evaluate the 6 proposals that were received. Again, they ranked them on their technical expertise, and then following up with a negotiation panel, recommended these 2 vendors for their contracts. And so again, the Thrives analysis of just trying to make sure that we're keeping our facilities in a state of good repair to help make sure we're taking care of our assets. The funding, again, it could come from state or local funds, so that, again, there was no DBE or MCUB goal assigned, but again, those will be looked at as those specific scopes come up that where we can include those small business partners. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Okay, I have one question, and the group that approved the 2 vendors, was there a specific reason why they went with 2 versus 1? Or were there specialties between the 2, or how did that contract get broken out?
Madam Chair, I think the team that evaluated, they looked at the expertise, the team size that was available to kind of think about the amount of work that we have coming up in the capital improvement plan and what that flow looks like to get the work done. They also looked at, this contract also includes some inspection services that we need to keep on top of, and there's a little bit more value there. So I think more value was assigned to the vendor that we feel can do more of that work that we have upcoming in the plan. So it's really looking at the amount of work, the areas that's needed, the dollar values we have for it, and where it needs to land to make sure that we're able to process it efficiently.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? With no further questions, is there a motion to approve 2026-146 master contracts for architectural engineering services for roof facade, design, maintenance, and inspection services?
So move.
It's been moved by Councilmember Osman. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Tody Carter. Any further discussion? Without any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next business item is 2026-151. That's the same week Metro G Line construction contract with Evan Owens Ambrosio presenting.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name's Evan Owens Ambrosio. I'm a principal engineer with the Arterial BRT group at Metro Transit. So I'm here to discuss the business item 2026-151, which is a same week action to authorize the regional administrator to award and execute contract 26P075 with Meyer Contracting Incorporated for the construction of the Metro G Line Arterial BRT project in an amount not to exceed $20,726,416. So I can just go through a quick overview of the G Line project. The G Line is an arterial bus rapid transit project. And you can see the corridor highlighted in red on the map here. So it's an 11.5-mile corridor that goes from the Little Canada Transit Station on the north end down to the Dakota County Northern Service Center on the south end. There are 32 stations, and it primarily runs on Rice Street and Robert Street. And so it goes through the cities of Little Canada, Maplewood, Roseville, St. Paul, and West St. Paul. The G Line project will substantially replace the existing Route 62 and Route 68. And we plan for construction to start this fall in 2026 and go through the 2028 construction season. The G Line is a little bit unique where it's the first BRT project that we plan to open in phases. So phase 1 will be the northern segment. And so we plan to open phase 1 in late 2027 to revenue service. And so that runs from downtown St. Paul to the north, ending in Little Canada. And then phase 2 is the southern segment. So we plan to open the southern segment to revenue service in late 2028. And so that runs from downtown St. Paul to the south at the Dakota County Northern Service Center. And so just the next slide here goes over the corridor in more detail and kind of summarizes the construction scope. So the main construction here is the civil construction of the stations themselves. And then in addition to that, we'll be doing the amenities installation at the platforms, transit signal priority, and the fiber optic communications network. And then the construction scope also includes an operator restroom, and that'll be at the north end of the corridor at the Little Canada Transit Station. There are 3 intersections here that have locally funded ADA improvements for accessibility. And so we've been coordinating with Ramsey County and MnDOT to execute cooperative construction agreements to have cost participation from them on that work. And then 16 of the stations are being constructed in coordination with partner-led roadway reconstruction projects. And so you can kind of see some of the stations on the map here colored in red and blue, but we've been coordinating really closely with MnDOT and the City of St. Paul and Ramsey County to have our station civil construction completed through a roadway reconstruction project. And then we would come in with this contract to install the station amenities. And then 3 of the stations also will be temporary, and so we'll have permanent stations constructed at a future date through a programmed roadway reconstruction project in coordination with a partner-led project. And then 13 of the stations, though, will be fully constructed through this contract by Metro Transit. All right. And so then I just have some information here on the G-Line project funding. So the total authorized budget is $104 million, and so that can be broken down by the funding source. So there is about $50 million that's state funded, $33 million is federally funded, and so that does include a portion of a grant that will be used to purchase hybrid electric buses, and then $21 million is locally or regionally funded. And then you can see here I've also broken it down by kind of where the expenses will go by category. And so contract 26P075 will fall into that $43 million bucket for construction and equipment purchases. And then the last thing on this slide is just acknowledging that there is about $200,000 that I mentioned before that's coming from Ramsey County and MnDOT for the ADA pedestrian accessibility improvements at those 3 intersections. And so then just some visual representations of what the construction activities will look like. So this shows the platform construction. You can see the raised 9-inch curves that we construct at our platforms, as well as the shelter and pylon foundations under construction here. And then the vertical amenity installation and pedestrian ramp reconstruction is kind of the next step in the construction scope. So that picture on the upper left there is actually on Robert Street in downtown St. Paul of the G-Line station at Robert and 10th Street. So you can see them installing the shelters and the pylons and upgrading the ped ramps here. And then there's also roadway pavement and replacement work here. So you can see we do have concrete bus pads constructed in the roadway at all of our stations. That includes pavement markings and then traffic signal modifications, as well as the fiber optic communication installation. And then the last slide here is just on some of our construction outreach activities. And so we will be sending out a pre-construction postcard, so that should be going out this week. And then we also have a newsletter email that goes out, and so we'll be sending out a newsletter email this week as well. And so these are really just to inform the public that the construction will be starting this year and kind of remind people of the work that will be happening. This is not the first time we've reached out to people along the corridor. We had really robust outreach and engagement during planning and design as well. So hopefully this is just a reminder for people along the corridor to keep a lookout for those emails or postcards. And then during construction, we'll also have a hotline available that we'll be monitoring. And then we'll also be doing station neighbor door knocking and flyering prior to construction starting at an intersection. But we've also already started a lot of the door knocking and flyering activities at specific targeted station neighbors where we know there'll be construction impacts. And then we are coordinating directly with the communications staff at the partner-led agency reconstruction projects as well. So those roadway reconstruction projects that are happening and constructing G-line stations, we're working really closely with their communication staff as well. And so just to conclude here, the proposed action again is to authorize the regional administrator to award and execute contract 26P075 with Meyer Contracting Incorporated for construction of the Metro G-Line arterial BRT project in an amount not to exceed $20,726,416. That concludes my presentation. Thank you. I can take any questions.
Any questions? Councilmember Tony Carter?
Oh, just excited. So yeah, this is really wonderful. We have been so looking forward to this work and to see it happening in 2027, this first part, and then 2028, the second part is really wonderful. And I know so many along the Rice and Robert corridor are going to be so glad for this enhanced transportation services. And next year and in 2028, they'll be a little frustrated with us because of all the construction that will be going on. I am just wanting to ask about the planful section by section work that you'll be doing, focusing on community outreach on a section by section basis, and hopefully looking forward to a lack of full closure, side by side construction. Could you just speak a little bit about the plans? I heard you say we're doing great outreach. We're going to count on that for sure. And also, I'm sorry for so many questions, but wondering if there will be locations at which we will be headquartered or doing coffees or anything of that sort along this construction route.
Yeah, for sure. Chair.
Can you figure out all those questions?
Yeah, I think I got it. So Chair and council members, in terms of the engagement that we'll be doing during construction to kind of try to mitigate some of the impacts during construction, I think one of the biggest things we're doing that's kind of a lesson learned from previous construction projects is that we've kind of assigned an incentive to the contractor, basically, if they don't close the road fully. So most of our station construction does not include fully closing the road, and it will just have at least one lane fully open during construction, and then we've essentially assigned a maximum number of days that they can close the road fully, and if they want to figure out a way to not close it, then we'll pay them an incentive to do that. So we're hoping that kind of motivates the contractor to keep at least one lane open as much as possible. And then the other part of that is also kind of a lesson learned from previous projects, but we're gonna work to develop kind of public-facing detour exhibits. So just an exhibit that is really easy to understand that shows, if the roadway has to be closed. A lot of the closures will actually happen because of a coordinated project, so a project being led by Ramsey County or MnDOT. So that might be fully closing Robert Street or Rice Street, but we'll try to have public-facing exhibits that show people what the detour route is, and then have signage during construction that shows kind of what the local access is to get to businesses as well. So I think those are some of those strategies that we have. And then we do have a dedicated community outreach coordinator in our staff, and so that they'll be going door to door flyering prior to construction to make sure that people are aware of when construction will be happening. But we have done it in the past, and so we'll likely continue having kind of those open staff hours on the corridor that has their availability for people to come in and ask questions as well. So.
I think he caught them all.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. Thank you for the good questions. Councilmember Obasaki.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. So I'm in West St. Paul, so Robert Street is that's my baby. That's the street I use. And she touched, my council member Carter touched on what I was also scared about. It's a 2-lane. Robert Street is 2-lane, and shutting it down to 1 is going to be some angry people. I'm included, especially I use that street to take my kids to school. But I get it; it has to be done. It's also a business street, so lots of businesses in there. So I'm with her. That outreach will be very, very important, especially Spanish-speaking businesses. So please keep that in mind. And big shout out to your team. I did reach out to my West St. Paul folks to make sure you've been talking, and they said, yes, we got it, Victor. You're in communication, so I appreciate you and thank you for all that you do. So I'm excited. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. It looks like there has been a lot of engagement and planned engagement for the area. And I know in the past, for these types of construction projects, there has been additional signage so that people know how to navigate and find their way through the construction projects. Any other questions? Okay, without any other questions, is there a motion to approve 2026-151, same week, Metro G-Line construction contract 26P075?
Happily.
It's been motioned by Tony Carter and seconded by Councilmember Obasaki and Deb Barber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Based on my position as the Public Works Director for the City of St. Paul, I will be recusing myself from voting on business item 2026-151 because of the potential appearance of a conflict.
Thank you. It's been a motion and second. Any further discussion? Councilmember Johnson.
I don't live on the east side now, but I did. I was Rice Street, I was Robert Street, and all the good days in St. Paul. I think this is a great project, and I really appreciate the timeline on this. It's not years, it's year-ish, which is great, and just the costs involved here seem, you get just a lot for that investment. So kudos to the team. I hope it goes well, and thank you for working to support the community and the business community along that route.
Thank you. Any further discussion? With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is 2026-150, which is the Metro H line, and authorization to release recommended corridor plan for public comment. Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Kyle O'Donnell Burrows. I have the pleasure to introduce Jordan Kosak to the Transportation Committee this evening, who will be presenting on this item. Jordan joins us from Hennepin County. He joined our team in January and has spent a decade with Hennepin County working on multimodal transportation planning, particularly in the bike ped space. So he's been really well positioned to join our team and add a lot of value, hit the ground running. Our projects really align very well with his expertise, and we're excited to have him join our team. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jordan.
Welcome.
Chair and council members, once again, I'm Jordan Kosak, here with business item 2026-150 to authorize the release of the Metro H-Line recommended corridor plan for public review and comment. The H-Line is the 8th arterial BRT line in the Metro network. There are 46 recommended BRT stations. 3 of those are shared with the Bronze Line on Maryland Avenue. Importantly, this is a new crosstown service filling a gap along Maryland Avenue. And our planning level cost estimate for the project is $120 to $150 million. $60 million of that has been secured to date. The H-Line, as I mentioned, will add a new crosstown connection connecting people, jobs, and regional destinations. So this map on the screen is the existing local service on the corridor. And once the H-Line is implemented, this is the anticipated local service in the corridor. So there's that new crosstown connection kind of around the 35E area on Maryland. The H-Line will connect 2 regional parks, Como and Phelan Regional Park. The G-Line is a high-frequency connection to the H-Line at Rice Street, and this is provides access to downtown St. Paul.
And then transit service will remain on Energy Park Drive and Front Avenue via the new proposed Route 66. This will replace the Route 3B. So we're in the planning phase of the H-Line project. We're at the recommended corridor plan step. Following the recommended corridor plan, we'll develop our final corridor plan for approval in fall of this year. Kicking off this year is our engineering phase of the project that goes through 2027, and then construction is expected to start in 2028 pending full funding of the project. My next few slides are about our draft corridor plan engagement phase. This was a 6-week engagement period from March 23 to May 4th. We had 43 different engagement activities across the corridor, things like pop-ups, meeting with neighborhood associations, community events, door knocking, as well as an online and in-person survey. And for the survey, we received over 1,000 responses. 78% of those respondents are regular transit users. 25% of the respondents identified as BIPOC. The response rate was pretty evenly spread across all different household income tiers. And then young people, students, and regular transit riders tended to be more supportive of the project. Some of the key themes that we heard through the engagement were broad project support, both for the line as a whole as well as at specific station locations. A lot of emphasis on bicyclist and pedestrian safety and connections. Concerns about business impacts, concerns about safety and security at and near stations. At a number of locations, there was a lot of engagement with the station and platform locations. Some of that's being supportive, asking for changes, opposition, but just in general, a lot of engagement there. And there was a neighbor-suggested alternative alignment between Snelling and Dale Street that we did evaluate, and I have a slide with more on that later. So following the engagement, we did evaluate some revisions to the draft corridor plan. The first ones highlighted in yellow, these are more of minor station revisions, shifting a platform one way or another, something like that. The locations highlighted in orange had a little bit deeper analysis, a little more impactful change. The first one is at Washington and 5th. We're recommending a new station here to improve access to destinations in downtown Minneapolis. We evaluated adding a new station at Como and 18th Avenue, but we're not recommending advancing a station there due to the proximity of neighboring stations. We're recommending moving the Como and 29th Avenue station to Como and 27th Avenue. This better aligns with where riders live. We evaluated moving the Como and Doswell station. We're not recommending moving that station location. We are confident that the Como and Doswell station best meets the station criteria in this area. And at Como and Chatsworth, we evaluated either removing or moving the eastbound platform. We're recommending moving the eastbound platform here from Chatsworth onto Como Avenue, and this is to improve bus operations at a kind of difficult turn. So I have a couple of slides that get into more detail at some of these locations, kind of what we heard from the public, what we considered, and then our recommendation. Starting with Como and 18th, we heard public feedback about station spacing along this part of the corridor, and an ask for more station access in this area because it is a higher ridership area. First thing we looked at were our 5 to 10 minute walk sheds around station areas, and that's what you're seeing. That's the map you're seeing on the screen here. So blue is a 5-minute walk, yellow is a 10-minute walk. And we do this at all of our around all of our station locations, just kind of understand who is being served by any given station. And when we put one of these walk sheds around Como and 18th Avenue, we found that the walk shed was fully incorporated by either the 15th Avenue and Como or Como and 22nd Avenue stations. So it's not really capturing any new riders. All of the potential riders who would use a Como and 18th Avenue station can be served by one of these other two stations within a 5 or 10-minute walk. And then we also validated, particularly at Como and 15th Avenue, that station could accommodate our expected growth in ridership. There will be some local bus stop consolidation as well as growth from the H-Line. And we want to make sure that if we were going to not recommend a station at 18th Avenue, that station could accommodate the growth. And we do feel confident that there is enough space both on the platform and shelter for the ridership there. So we're not recommending adding a new station at this location. At Como and Doswell, we received significant public feedback, as well as a letter from St. Anthony Park Community Council, concerns about business visibility, proximity of the westbound platform to an outdoor dining patio,
questions about compatibility with a future separated bike lane on Como Avenue, concerns about on-street parking and tree impacts, and then an ask to move either to Como-Carter intersection or move the westbound platform to Luther Place. And that's what you're seeing on the screen here. The blue boxes, that's our baseline Doswell intersection. The orange boxes are the Carter Avenue location we evaluated. The green is the Luther Place location. So one thing we considered here were all of the destinations in the area. So highlighted in pink, you have the commercial corridor. You can see Doswell is within that commercial corridor. Then if you take a step out, just to the north, there's the Luther Seminary campus. This is a future redevelopment site. And then just to the south, you have the St. Anthony Park Library, kind of an anchor destination on the commercial corridor. And so Doswell is really well situated between all of these different places that we expect riders are going to want to visit. During the design phase, there will be an opportunity to consider measures to mitigate the proximity of our westbound platform to the outdoor dining patio. That's something we're going to continue to take a look at. On-street parking and tree impacts are minimized and mitigated whenever possible. And because of bus stop consolidation in the area, there might even be the opportunity to gain some on-street parking spots. And the City of St. Paul right now is conducting a separated bikeway feasibility study. It won't be completed in time for the corridor plan, but our engineering phase and design process will be able to incorporate any bicycle facility type that the city determines they want to move forward with. So we're not recommending a change at the Como and Doswell station location. The final one is more of a neighborhood-wide question. This was brought to us by the District Council 10. They formed an ad hoc committee. And the primary ask from that committee was for us to evaluate changing the alignment from Como and Chatsworth, so that's the blue line on the map here, to Energy Park Drive and Front Avenue between Snelling Avenue and Dale Street. We looked at a number of different factors here. The first were demographic factors, things like population density, households, low-income individuals, BIPOC individuals, destinations, jobs, school enrollment. So a lot of different demographic factors, and found that the two corridors are quite similar to one another, and there really wasn't a compelling, something really compelling us to move the alignment based on the demographic factors. Really important for the H-Line project was the access to Como Regional Park, and the neighbor suggested alignment would deviate away from Como Regional Park and eliminate that direct access, one-seat ride for people living east and west of the park area. And then the final thing we evaluated was the travel time. We did find that buses take longer to travel on the suggested alignment, and there's more variability in their travel time. So that introduces a risk to reliability in terms of the overall bus travel time. So for those reasons, we are not recommending revising the alignment in this area. We recommend keeping the adopted alignment, the blue line. And my final slides are just kind of what's coming next with the recommended corridor plan and the corridor plan process overall. So on September 9th, there's a proposed council action to release the recommended corridor plan. This would start a 30-day public engagement period beginning September 10th to October 7th. For our public engagement period, we are going to use a lot of the same strategies we used during the draft corridor plan. One thing I'll call attention to is connecting with BIPOC individuals living on the corridor. We're going to do this through media ad buys as well as just in-person engagement. And in general, we try to use a robust strategy of in-person engagement, meeting residents and riders where they're at on the corridor. Our corridor plan next steps, I mentioned earlier, we're at the recommended corridor plan step, moving into a public comment period, September 10th to October 7th. Following that public comment period, we would revise the recommended corridor plan based on input, create our final corridor plan for approval in fall of this year. And once again, I'm here with business item 2026-150 to authorize the release of the Metro H-Line recommended corridor plan for public review and comment. This will direct staff to collect public comments through Wednesday, October 7th, summarize the comments, and report the findings to the Metropolitan Council. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions from the committee members? Councilmember Tyrone Carter?
Just a comment. I just wanted to really congratulate you on your public engagement strategies, particularly your outreach to the BIPOC community. So thank you.
Can you repeat that again, please?
The outreach to the, I just wanted to congratulate him for the outreach to the BIPOC community.
Okay, thank
In terms
you.
of the public engagement strategies.
Okay,
That's
I'm gonna,
gonna be a cornerstone of it.
okay, thank you. I'm gonna try to do this in order. Did I see a hand over here?
No, I think it was.
Okay, all the hands were over here. I'm gonna go from
Oh,
this
there's
way.
one, sorry.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Tony Carter on this side first.
Okay, well, thank you. This is substantial work that you all have done. And the release of the initial draft and coming back here, and the next public comment period the second time, and then also adjustments that can result from that public comment period and returning to us. So I have just got nothing but thank yous to say to the team, which, by the way, I appreciate has spent some separate time with me, as this is an area that is within my district, and I really, really appreciate understanding the input that has come, in large part from neighbors along the corridor who have questions, who have made comments, and who have made recommendations. And I think that if there's one thing we can say for sure, it is that you have heard them. You've looked into a lot of the comments and many, many of the suggestions and recommendations that have been made. And you have made changes as a result of much of the input that has come forward. You've done good work assessing the thoughts about station locations, alignment, and other factors, and you have returned to us with these recommendations. In some cases changing, in some cases remaining steadfast that a plan put together for its purposes, destinations, jobs, amenities, making certain that we are able to accomplish, for example, the access to Como Park. So I just had to say all of this because I know there will still be a lot of input, and we are going to listen and lean forward to the extent that we are able to assess that input and to share the knowledge that we have now about the benefits of the plan that has been put together, given the changes that have been made and some that have not been made. And then we have, if in fact the Met Council releases this on September 9th, we have the public engagement period or the public comment period. And then you'll be returning. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is not over. However, we do have a period of time for the next month and a half or so during which we will hear from folks. I'm glad for that. I also, just want to say that I am impressed with the effort that neighbors have made as well. That they have made some very, very intense efforts around this corridor, and that we've appreciated that. Again, I look forward to the exchange that will happen, the new surveys, the community meetings, and the gathering of information in the public comment period. And I look forward to any changes that may be needed after that. You all have done an incredible job. Thank you very much. And thank you for leaning into the purpose of this work, which is to ensure that we have enhanced transit through this crosstown area on behalf of all within our communities. So I guess I don't have a question. I'm just really feeling this. We're moving ahead. We just saw the G line. We have the H line here. We truly are going to have that cross-town, cross-community transit that we've been looking forward to cross-region. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, I just want to ask a couple questions. Do we know what the total project cost is projected on this?
Chair, council members, right now our planning level estimate is up to 150 million, but that will be revised as we move into the engineering phase and get more details about the project.
And Madam Chair, a couple other quick questions. And that funding source gap, I mean, obviously, we have to start, we'll move forward, we'll find the source. It'll get into our transportation improvement program once we have identified the funding. And when do we think this, you know, if everything goes right and well, when do we think this could be completed for a ribbon cutting event?
Chair, council members, right now, we are expecting the opening of the H-line to be either 2029, possibly 2030. And again, I think that's one that will continue to be revised as we're into the engineering and design of the project. That's our best estimate right now.
I just want to say, from the first time I became a council member in the 8 years, how excited I am and super proud of this entire team on what you have done to what I believe we are a leader. We have revolutionized bus rapid transit in all the different forms that it takes. And I want to commend Deb Barber, my fellow council member, former chair, for her hard work this whole time, working with a team and making sure that we saw the big picture and how we could transform how we traverse the entire region. And I can't wait because someday we're going to get this out into my district, and we're starting with Highway 55. Again, I want to thank Councilmember, former Chair Barber, for some help on her 169 work, because this to me is the best step forward to provide convenient, safe, and our riders say that it's safe, and it's forward thinking, and it is, I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money when you look at how we're moving other modes and how we're moving people. And I think we've just learned so much over the past decade or more. And I'm sure that when APTA is coming and going and they're looking at everything that we've got planned, I'm not intending to run for another, or ask to be on this for another term, but I can't wait to see all of these open up and plan to just ride around the region myself. And I really do appreciate those east-west lines, because those have always been the hardest for anybody to travel in this region forever. And I think that's why there always felt like separation of neighborhoods, and separation of cities, and all of that going on. So that's all I have to say. Great job. Love the program. Love the timeline. Love the cost. And I love the fact that we had the leadership and the team needed to get us to where we are. And I think we are setting the standard, leading the way when it comes to this kind of service. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Osman.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to add to my fellow council members, thank you for the great job. This corridor is also go through my district, which is District 7. I'm glad to see that most of the suggestion from the public was incorporated to the new alignment. If and Cone 115 is my stop, so so keep in mind that. So I'm glad to see all the most of the suggestions that we incorporated, and thank you for the project team. Kudos to the project team and to you also. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Well, thank you for this presentation and all of the engagement that has happened. You know, it's these BRT options, our multimodal options, that make our region great for servicing our communities. Thank you. So at this point, we have a motion for, we do not.
Not yet.
Oh, we have more?
We don't have a motion. We don't have a motion on the table.
Oh, okay. It's been moved by Councilmember Osman. Is there a second? There's a second by Councilmember Tony Carter. Any further discussion? Without, Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Based on my position as the Public Works Director for the City of St. Paul, I'll be recusing myself from voting on business item 2026-150 because of the potential appearance of a conflict.
Okay, any further discussion? We're ready for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? That motion carries. Our next item is 2026-155, which is the Metro Bronze Line Bus Rapid Transit We're going to talk about our environmental engineering and project management contract. And we have coming forward Craig Lamoff and Edwin Awasan.
Yes.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and council members and staff. Craig Lamoth, the council's Bronze Line Project Manager. I also have with me this afternoon, I've got Edwin Awasan, who is serving as the contract manager for this contract. He is also the agency's lead for much of the project management portion of this contract, and he'll be presenting a few slides. But we're seeking your support today to positively make a recommendation to the council to award this contract, which will be the council's primary contract on the Metro Bronze Line. This will help us move forward to start addressing the design as well as get through the technical issues, many of which you've heard about recently, including one of our two bridges. So this will be a big milestone for us with your recommendation here today. With that, I'll turn it over to Edwin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. Edwin Awasan here. I'm going to briefly talk about the scope of this project. The project-wide environmental services and analysis will be part of the scope, as well as design services for all the 22 stations that we have. And then intersection improvements in Maplewood. We also be looking at two end-of-the-lines station improvements, one at Maplewood Mall Transit Center and at the Union Depot. We also will be doing two bridges, as Craig has mentioned, the Arcade and the Johnson Parkway Bridge, and then trail reconstructions, as well as exclusive bus lanes. That's the design scope, and then we also will be, I'll be supporting the project management aspects of this project, which will include project controls, staff support in various aspects of the project as well, and then project plans and procedures, and also safety and security analysis along the corridor. So, next. All right, in March, this is just a milestone of a procurement process that started back in March with when we issued a request for proposal on this. At that point, Office of Civil Rights and Small Business Programs had established a 22% MCOP goal on this. This project was advertised for 48 days, starting back March 4th, as mentioned, through April 21st. March 16, we held a pre-proposal meeting and a small business mixer. 12 vendors were in attendance. And again, like I said, in April 21st, we received two proposals from Kimberly Horn and HNTB. Just continuing with the procurement process. Office of Civil Rights, and this is upon receipt of the proposals, Office of Civil Rights and Business Programs evaluated the proposals and determined that Kimberly Horn met the MCOP goal that was set on the project, and that's referring to the 22% MCOP goal. The procurement facilitated an evaluated panel review. The price at that point and scope were negotiated by the panel, and they met the project needs. Also, pricing was determined to be fair and reasonable, and we ended up with a recommendation to award the project to Kimberly Horn as the proposal that is most advantageous to the council. And the last piece here is just a recommended action, and I would just read it as written, that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the regional administrator to negotiate and execute the contract 26P018 with Kimberly Horn and Associates, Inc. to provide environmental engineering and project management services for the Metro Bronze Line Bus Rapid Transit in an amount not to exceed $23,447,572. And I yield. Oh, we're ready to entertain any questions.
Okay, are there any questions of council members? There look to be no questions for council members. I know, as with other projects, we're looking at this project closely and its corridor and the proposed contract. So I will ask for a motion to approve 2026-155 Metro Bronze Line Bus Rapid Transit contract. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Obasakin and a second
Second.
by Councilmember Osman. Any further discussion? Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Being it's a good day for the East Side, for the third time today, I will say, based on my position as the Public Works Director for the City of St. Paul, I'll be recusing myself from voting on business item 2026-155 because of the potential appearance of a conflict.
Thank you. One more time, any further discussion? Without any further discussions, and with a motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thank you. We have one more, thank you. We have one more business item, which is 2026-159. That's Metro Green Line Extension, Freight Rail Maintenance and Repair Contract, Amendment Number 2. Welcome, Mr. Alexander.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, council members. So this item regards an amendment to a contract we have with North Shore Track Services. They are performing maintenance inspection on freight track. To kind of give a background, there's two lines of freight that we're working with. Is Bass Lake Spur runs alongside the corridor for much of it from St. Louis Park, Hopkins, and Minnetonka. And it's about 6.8 miles. And the other freight corridor is Kenilworth Corridor in Minneapolis, about 2.5. These were acquired based on council actions back in 2016, 2017 for the purpose of the project. So we, back in November 22, we signed a contract with North Shore to do the maintenance and inspection on the Bass Lake Spur. And we subsequently amended the contract to add services for the Kenilworth Corridor. So this Amendment 2 would add services based on our inspections that we've had to date. We have identified some improvements that are required for this track, and so for these two sections of track. And so this proposed action that the Metropolitan Council authorized the regional administrator to negotiate and execute an amendment to contract 21P143B with the North Shore Track Services to add a not-to-exceed amount of $2,178,484.70 for a total contract not-to-exceed amount of $7,868,056.97. And funding for this amendment is available in the $2.86 billion project budget. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, is there a motion to approve 2026? There is one question from Councilmember Tyrone Carter.
I was just making a motion.
Okay, all right. Sometimes it comes in after I've started talking about. Okay, so the motion has been made from Tyrone Carter. Is there a second? There is a second from Councilmember Osman. Any further discussion? Without any further discussion, signify all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. That motion does carry. And that completes all of our business items. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. And we have one information item left, and I think we are making good time. We might go slightly over, so appreciate your patience because Network Now amendment is really important. And welcome, Ryan Heath.
Thank you. I didn't know whether I was going to say good afternoon or good evening, but I am very pleased to be here to present this information item on our Network Now Framework 2026 amendment. So today we'll start with a quick look at Metro Transit Forward, and then we'll dive into the existing Network Now framework before taking a look at our proposed amendment. We will make a brief stop with Metro Micro, Though it isn't part of the amendment, it's an important part of our service, and so we want to talk about it this afternoon. And then we'll close out with public engagement. So beginning with Metro Transit Forward, what you'll see in this presentation is really about service, right? Offering service that is convenient and reliable, expanding service on the weekends and in the evenings to help facilitate the type of lifestyle transit that we really are moving our network towards. And looking at our priorities specifically in 2026, we'll look a lot at building ridership, and then very important to this amendment, central to this amendment, is preparing ourselves for a flawless Green Line extension launch in 2027. The existing Network Now framework, this is the Council's policy guidance on Metro Transit service improvements. We're looking to grow ridership, enhance mobility, and meet travel needs as we adapt and evolve coming out of our pandemic era. And the framework is built on multiple principles, and you can see those on the screen. Adapting service to changes in transit markets and travel patterns, preparing ourselves for new metro and high-frequency routes, maintaining reliability of service over time, building on success to grow ridership and add service where people are using transit the most, and providing access to opportunities to reduce regional disparities and advance equity. And so far, since adopting the framework, Metro Transit has implemented approximately 50% of the service increases. So a lot of change in our network in the past couple of years. Now, the 2026 amendment. Why are we amending the framework? Well, the first reason is to further develop corridor plans looking west of the Mississippi River, focusing on Green Line extension connecting bus plans and Highway 55 corridor service that we're bringing online in 2027 and connecting routes. We also want to advance Network Now principles and apply lessons learned. And then third, we need to review our implementation timeline consistent with operator resources. And where that is leading us is now we are targeting completing implementation of all of our Network Now service changes in 2028. The process to date, in June, we were developing these draft changes. In July, we were meeting with partner cities and counties to review those changes. Tonight, we're here with the Transportation Committee information item, and that kicks off our engagement period from August 25th to October 4th, where we're going to be out engaging riders in the community. And then later in 2026, after we've made modifications to the plan in response to public engagement, we will be back requesting endorsement of the amended framework. Now, looking at specific changes in the plan, we'll start with an overview map. And this map has a lot of information on it, so a little bit of orientation. You can see the Green Line extension, obviously in green. The local routes that are part of this amendment, you can see in dark purple, representing what we are proposing. The pink on top of that are new roadway segments where currently we don't operate. Underneath that, we have the yellow or orange color. Those are segments that would no longer have transit service. And we will come back to that later in the presentation. And then there's a final blue color. Those are services that we had proposed in the original framework, and now we are modifying. So quite a few elements to this. And then finally, the light blue regions, those are metro micro services. Okay, so you can see the geographic focus here around the Highway 55 corridor and the Green Line extension corridor. And next, I'm going to jump into a couple of examples of specific route changes to give an overview of the type of change that we're pursuing with this amendment. I apologize. First, here are our proposed route modifications, again, focusing on the Green Line extension and Highway 55, and sort of bucketed by routing changes, frequency changes, introducing one new route, the 617, and then some route or route segment discontinuations. Again, we'll take another look at that as specifically with how we're going to engage with those riders. Now, we'll look at a few examples of the route changes we are proposing. So the first one we'll take a look at is the Route 757. This is the short-term recommendation that came out of a Highway 55 transit study that was completed last year. This is also funded by regional solicitation dollars. We are making a couple of changes from what we had proposed in the original Network Now framework. We're shortening the route up just a little bit. Our existing or our planned terminal at Dunkirk Park and Ride no longer exists, so we're going to bring it back to the Plymouth City Center. We're going to deviate to connect to the important commercial node at Golden Valley Road and Winnetka Avenue, so riders will be able to make easier connections rather than having to go out on Highway 55. And then we will also be extending service to the U hourly on weekdays. So you can see the map here. The dark purple again is what we are proposing, and since this isn't an existing route, the light blue is what was in the original framework. Also, I want to look at the planned schedule. So we have tables for each of our routes here. And what we are showing is by each time of day bucket, rush hour, midday, evening, and night, the existing service, so the Route 757 isn't operating today, so there is no existing service. What we had planned, in this case, it would have been 30-minute service on weekdays for most of the day. And then what we are planning. So the Route 757, we are looking to expand service to weekends, not just weekdays, and also expand service later into the evening and into the night. So providing that all-day, 7-day-a-week transit alternative for really what will be a new corridor for Metro Transit. Another key route in this amendment is Route 705. This is an existing route. It operates hourly on weekdays today. It does have two branches, one to Douglas Drive and one to Mendelssohn Avenue. Those operate every 2 hours. And we are looking to streamline this route, which would remove 2 branches, consolidating service on Winnetka Avenue to provide more legibility for riders and also faster service for riders who are going through. This service will be extended down to connect to Green Line Extension and also to the Excelsior Park Place area, with key destinations being Starlight Transit Center, Hy-Vee in New Hope, and Methodist Hospital and Health Partners in St. Louis Park. Similar to the Route 757, we are looking to upgrade the service from hourly to every 30 minutes, and we're looking to extend it to weekend service and run it later into the night. So a pretty large expansion of north-south service in this corridor. Finally, looking at another east-west route. This is another existing route, Route 38. Today, it operates down to the Shady Oak area, or to the Opus area. We're planning to tighten that up a little bit for both operational reliability and operator facilities. And service to the Opus area would be taken over by a restructured Route 615. So that area would still have service. Additionally, Green Line Extension will be serving the Opus area. And then we are also looking to simplify the east end of the route. Today, there are 2 branches. One goes to the Veterans Home and one goes to Highland Park, resulting in hourly service for both. We're looking to consolidate all of the service across to Highland Park. And then Route 46, part of this amendment as well, will serve the Veterans Home every half hour instead of every hour. Key destinations for this route include downtown Hopkins, Uptown, Highland Park, and 38th Street Station. And then excitingly, we are also proposing to bring service up to every 20 minutes from the existing every 30 minutes. I will note we had planned to run every 15 minutes during the rush hour, but what we have seen with our service changes and the most success we've seen is really those non-rush hour time periods and weekend time periods. So we are modifying our plan a little bit. And just stopping back at the overview map again, showing that geographic extent, but also the next thing we will look at are those route segments that are proposed for discontinuation. So this map, again, lots of information, so I'll break it down here a little bit. So the orange segments that you're seeing are the segments through this amendment that are proposed to no longer have transit service. And the numbers and the dots that you are seeing are average daily riders who are beyond a 5-minute walk or roll from an alternative transit service. So with this amendment, we are anticipating approximately 23 average daily riders would be more than a 5-minute walk from alternative transit service. I do want to point out the section down in Opus on the Route 38. That number is larger than 23 when you sum it up. That was planned for modification under the original framework. So it is not included in the 23 daily average riders, but we absolutely are open to feedback on that change, and depending on that feedback, we could make a modification. And a lot of our engagement is going to be focused around reaching these riders on the trips that they're taking, where they're boarding transit, to really hear what they have to say about this amendment and take that into account. And while we know we are affecting some people, we think we are accomplishing a lot with this amendment. And so next we'll take a look at key outcomes from those Network Now principles. So first, adapting to change and building on success. We are bringing more travel options with increased frequency and additional evening and weekend service. Preparing for new metro lines. We have new routes and increased service connecting to the Green Line west of downtown Minneapolis from previous plans. And highlighting on weekends, that results in 70% more trips connecting to Green Line stations west of downtown Minneapolis than we had previously planned. Maintaining service reliability. We are simplifying some routes, reducing branches and complex patterns. That makes it easier for riders to understand those routes, and it also makes it easier for us to deliver reliable service. And then finally, increasing access to opportunities. We are bringing all-day 30-minute frequency or better to 14,000 people who today do not have access to that type of transit service. So really, I believe we're accomplishing quite a bit with this amendment. Stepping back and looking at our implementation timeline, this chart in different form has been presented before, but just to recap, the green line is Metro Transit operator headcount. It is a little bit out of date. That number has grown a little bit. And then you see the red dotted line, that's scheduled operators. And then looking up to the upper right, the purple dot is operators needed to fully implement the unamended Network Now, and that's 1,588. And then with the amendment, Metro Transit would be increasing its requirement for operators by 12 to 1,600. In addition, some of this service is being taken by MTS, and we do coordinate with them on that service, and they are confident on their ability to provide the service. And as you can see with our trajectory, looking and targeting implementation of the full suite of Network Now changes into 2028. Now, just a quick stop here with Metro Micro. While it's not part of the amendment, it is a key part of our service mix today, and we are continuing to grow Metro Micro. So you can see on this map, excited to say that the Brooklyn Park area zone is set for launch October 1st. So that's coming up soon here. And then we will have a couple of micro zones connecting to our extended Green Line. The first in North Minneapolis, we will make some slight adjustments to connect to a couple of stations, and then also the Minnetonka zone, which will connect at Shady Oak Station and Opus. And as you can see here, we have a process for developing draft boundaries for Metro Micro. We engage with city staff. We make revisions based on feedback from city staff, finalize that boundary, get the service out on the street, but importantly, we monitor it over the first 6 to 8 months and make tweaks in response to the ridership patterns that we are seeing. Okay, last, just want to stop here and talk about public engagement and next steps. So as I mentioned, we are launching our public engagement period. It will extend from August 25th through October 4th. Our website goes live tomorrow, as well as that feedback period. We're going to have 4 community meetings. Those are all scheduled. We have one that will be virtual for folks who can't make it in person. Outreach and communications with those riders and communities who are interested, including tabling and presentations at many community events. A lot of that is through events that Green Line Extension will already be visiting, so we're bringing that, the Network Now amendment to that as well. And then also a lot of transit onboard outreach, getting on board all of these routes. If there are limited trips, making sure that we're covering every trip, that sort of thing. We'll also be bringing this to Transit Accessibility Committee, TAAC, and then Green Line Extension Corridor Management Committee on September 2nd. We'll make some adjustments based on the feedback we receive, and then bring a business item for proposed council endorsement at the November 9th Transportation Committee and the November 18th council meeting. This is the link to the website that goes live tomorrow, and with that, I'm open for any questions.
Councilmember Tyrone Carter, and then Judy.
The question, thank you. This is a question I got yesterday. If I live in Chanhassen, if you look at the map on 15, so if I live in Chanhassen, what are my public transportation options? Or what will they be in the future, considering this?
Yeah, thank you. Madam Chair and Council Member, that is the Southwest service area, and we have been coordinating over the past year around the service that Southwest would connect into the Green Line Extension. Their focus is really going to be around on-demand services. So you have their existing express service, and then their service is called Southwest Prime for their micro-type service.
Okay, Councilmember Johnson?
Yeah, thank you. Based on Councilmember Carter's question, it is good sometimes to just filter where those suburban transit providers do exist, so that it doesn't look like there's this, area where nothing's going on. And to that point, and it was actually described in an earlier item that we had on our agenda, kind of deep into the backstory of an item, but Plymouth and Maple Grove are working very hard on their microtransit, coming together very nicely. They go beyond their borders. Maple Grove Transit actually, I think, gets over to the Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center area. And then Plymouth is trying to also pick up and go further south of Plymouth and further east. Part of that, I think, was the magic with everybody coming together to finally get the 757 route lined up, although Maple Grove wasn't formally part of it. We had everybody on the corridor aligned. The other thing I'd like to say, and I'm not sure why it came back, but I love that the U of M is being added back. I don't need to know why, but I would love to know, because I was really kind of heartbroken when that one went away. There are, the suburban provider in Maple Grove and Plymouth, I believe, have service to the U, so maybe at some point those can be combined or worked around, I'm not sure. The other thing you guys, I just have been waiting for this seriously for 27 years to see a line on a map. And it's partly because we were a suburban transit provider. We chose not to be part of Metro Transit because there was going to be no service coming out, even though our tax dollars were going in. So I love the whole process. There are people in this room, I see Adam and you also as well. Thank you very much for being part of that process. So for us, this is the precursor to BRT, if we can make this thing happen. And I love that Golden Valley, long ago with their, burgeoning downtown, and Plymouth with its downtown, and people do laugh that we call them our downtowns or city centers, but they are both within walking distance of this future line. And also buried in a report from another item was Plymouth talking about how Station 73, which is on Highway 55 kind of as you enter into Plymouth going west, the usage is up, but we got federal funding, some local funding to put the regional trail underneath Highway 55. So you can imagine we've got ped and bike coming into that area now. We built Station 73 probably 20 years ago. and it was pretty controversial. And I will tell you, it's been underutilized, but that station today is ready to go along this corridor. And for everybody who said it's gonna happen, we all lived long enough, hopefully, to see it. So I just want to thank everybody again for the public process on my end of the world in the area I represent. And just factoring in that those suburban transit providers are all working very hard to tap into the larger Metro Transit system. And I would say for my suburban providers, they work so well. Hopefully I'm not, saying anything that isn't true, but from what I understand, they really work very well with MTS and Metro Transit. And Maple Grove, if you don't know, actually contracts Metro Transit for their system. And not to speak out of turn, but I have a feeling Plymouth might do that as well. And we don't know what the legislature is going to do, but all I know is the relationships are still there, and hopefully they all stay really positive, because this has been a long time coming for my communities. I'm celebrating everybody's communities because we are starting to see a robust system come to fruition. And if you can get it done before I'm off council, I'd appreciate that. So I really thank you to everybody. It's just so exciting for us. So
Thank you. Councilmember Obasakin?
Yeah, I'll be quick, Ryan. Just thank you. Great presentation. My mini concern is with discontinued service. I'm just imagining a picture in my mind. These folks had access to transportation and now it's gone. Now you're assuring us that before the council endorsement, you will have a word or plan with these folks to ensure that they have
Yeah,
something coming. Okay.
we are going to review and reach out to these folks. And we may adjust. Working with Plymouth, maybe there's an opportunity there or something like that.
Please do. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Barber?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very excited to see these connections to the Green Line extension and the future work on Highway 55. So very excited. In general, I think what this shows is really how we've taken this work and approached it, where it's not, we don't have the answers on any particular day. We're not afraid to look at the system and say we should change things, we should adapt, we should adjust. And this is just sort of the next generation of that. So I think I really appreciate that. I think it's kind of built into the work that's being done at Metro Transit now, so which is really great. My one comment was actually on this slide, down where they have more people down in the Opus corner. I think, that's a future Metro micro area. So I think that should be, as you do reach out there, I'll make sure you come armed with sort of the information on timing and all of that, because that space down there, I don't know if anyone's been inside of Opus, but it's challenging to navigate sometimes. But I fully expect Metro Micro will be really embraced there to connect to the Green Line stations, and so that can be a good opportunity.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you for that comment. Any other comments? I would like to say that also, as far as the discontinued segments, if we could continue to get more information on that process for how we make that determination, the assessments, and also how we support maintaining what was mentioned in terms of access to opportunities where there aren't currently. Because, and I say this often about, the criteria that we use in the plans that we're going to inject with policy and support, or, even maybe how long we take a look at how we maintain access to areas of opportunity. You see a lot of celebrations across the table about different areas that have been impacted positively by Network Now improvements, and that's because of all the work that is being done from council members to state officials, our regional sales tax dollars. The network plan provides options across the region where many service areas had gaps from the suburbs to the urban core, and we now have an opportunity to take a look at that, and as you can see, we're making significant progress. So thank you to everybody involved, and even the council members who have kind of laid the groundwork, and you know who I'm looking at, Judy, for some of their areas, and that's the beauty of having the council member board. So thank you for this, and I would like, before we adjourn, I'd like to suggest that we have 2 items on non-consent. The first one being 2026-126, and the second one being 2026-155. And then, well, one more, there's 3. 2026-124 as well.
In the same week.
And then the same week item is 2026-151, moving forward. Is there another one?
These non-consent, have you?
Okay, we've got extra. So we have also 2026-150 and 2026-155. So all for non-consent, all the rest will go on consent. So we will have a big Met Council agenda as well. So thank you, and that's thanks to all of the activity that's been going on in Metro Transit. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.